Okay, guys, it's been a minute since I got in here, but as this really locked in, I thought I really need to get this information out there. So, the new that's coming in is, of course, just a reconfiguration of the old because there's nothing new. Even though things are created that seem new, it's created through the destruction and reorganizing of the old, right? So we're in a destructuring, restructuring right now in the global scene, right? And within each one of us too. So as we're going through this destructuring, there's also this, we've seen fluidity around terminologies. And some forces have really glommed onto that to try to make you think that this fluidity aspect is wrong, okay, or right, like a specific part only, like only looking at this segment of reality. And we'll say like this transgenderism. This is really about the idea in the bigger picture that actually things we used to identify this way could be something else. And by that, let's even look at the gender issue. So at the core of creation, the wholeness is actually androgynous. The wholeness contains both masculine and feminine, and that's how, through the oneness, it creates various forms that, which by the way, each of us have masculine, feminine components as well. So, but we manifest in male and female bodies, right? With different genitalia, hormones, and whatnot that are complementary forces that come together to mirror the inner coming together, okay? Masculine, feminine bodies is how the creation was formed. So as this idea of, first of all, in the awakening of one's consciousness, if you're a woman in a female body and you become aware of your masculine nature, which is great because we're supposed to become aware of our wholeness in this lifetime. That's part of waking up. But if that happens at a stage where it's not understandable, you might think, hey, I feel more like a guy. I feel more like a man than a woman because my masculine nature that is masculine, that is strength, that is the brute, that is the primal, that is the physical, like taking and action and ordering and structuring and all of that energy is very like dominant force, is associated with the body of man. The body of the, say, perfect man or whatever has all those qualities which we associate and look at as a masculine quality. Feminine, on the other hand, and some boys, as their divine feminine nature is coming online, that can feel like weird too. They might feel more like what a girl traditionally shows who's in touch with that feminine force, which is softer, more receptive, is the receiver, is the magnetizer, is also the birthing force, the creative force itself, is sensuality, is beauty, is grace, is all forms of creativity. This is and truly like the heart of the matter, the love essence. This is the strong feminine nature of the one, okay? So if one person identifies more toward one or the other, since we haven't had the education as to these components and how they might show up, that might cause this issue of, oh, I'm more like a man, or oh, I'm more like a woman, or I like men, not women, or I like women, not men from same sexes. There is some need to balance out in themselves. If a woman feels more masculine, she might find a more feminine woman that wants to help balance that out. And then we have the fluidity, the transgenderism, which is the confusion in one's own body of what shape one should take. If one identifies more with the masculine or the feminine and they're not in that physical manifestation body, even though we all have both, the need to alter this form and like making our languaging fluid around that, accepting that. There is an element of truth to this. not that concept in particular. I'm not like cheering for it because I feel like that the results of that are very damaging to a developing consciousness who is confusing the matter. But the concept of fluidity that that group is trying to suck you into is actually in the making of a new reality, as I started to say, the ability to break apart definitions from words and give them new form is kind of how we change the building blocks, right? So I had this awareness because my son and I will sometimes say funny things, you know, back and forth, and he has this habit of calling weird things evil, like seahorses, where you're just like, what? That's the cutest thing. How could you ever? Well, today I caught myself in his presence saying socks were evil because I live in Arizona and like none of us wear socks. And strangely, there's socks like appearing all over the house. So I had this like socks are evil moment. And in that moment, boom, like the fluidity issue hit me. And I wanted to share it with you. And that is that we are this whole even cancel culture that wants to change words, right? From like a mother to a birthing person. Like there's like a craziness that's been associated with this fluidity so that you shun it. But the secret is take the secret in the sauce, which is detaching a word from its previous value, so as to make the reality changeable. And here's an example. If socks could be evil, socks could be evil. Instead of what's been evil, that's those things that have been evil, how do we get them out of reality in that way in order to reconstruct reality? First, we have to detach the languaging so that it just is not charged positively or negatively, so it can alchemize into dust, right? Like the polarizing of things is what's creating the duality, right? Back and forth, the up and down, the good and bad, the pain and pleasure, and to get into the eternal present now where it's creativity that rules. Like we're at the threshold here where the only way to get there is to charge words differently. So if socks could be evil, socks is so benign, right? If something benign, that doesn't really actually matter. And if socks are like as bad as it gets, then sign me up, you know? Creepy socks around the house, if that's as bad as it gets, that's evil. Do you see how that changes the polarity, like spectrum? So you move it way up, which allows this end to grow too. So if before we had bad and good, evil and heaven and hell, but we actually take what used to be evil, right? Like treacherous things, like painful things, and we move that dial to socks. And I say that because it's a practice that one can do, a shamanic practice to be part of the reconstructing of a reality. And some of you that are watching are here on this earth for the purpose of reconstructing reality. So if you are, this is a tactic to shift reality. And you can hear much more on what I'm saying. But make socks evil. That's what I'm saying.